It's Saturday morning cartoons. How about how about that for some artwork for our Saturday morning cartoons? This is the cover of the second edition of a book that the late great Dr. Christopher S. Hyatt and myself wrote back in 1991. We wrote four books in 1991 and 1992. And this was the fourth one in our series. And the first edition was called Taboo, the Ecstasy of Evil. And but it was a fun book to write, okay? And we had great fun writing it because we were being very sort of audaciously frank about the concepts of sex as it relates to the expansion of consciousness that is all lumped under the category of sex magic, things like that. The second edition was called Taboo, Sex, Religion, and Magic, which is probably a more accurate, okay, and dignified title. And it's come out under various other titles. It was published by Dr. Hyatt's publishing house, New Falcon Publications, and after he died, New Falcon Publications became two separate publishing houses, and I think both of them still publish this. There's Original Falcon and New Falcon, and both of them are still in operation and still maintaining a good relationship with their authors. And so I'm going to read not what Christopher Hyatt and I wrote in the book, but what Robert Anton Wilson wrote in his introduction to the book. Introduced by Robert Anton Wilson. It's very, very cute. And I thought I'd share that with you on Saturday morning cartoons. But before I do, I just want you I want to read to you the table of contents of the chapters. Thou shalt not. The black beauty in the priest. Damned if you do. It's so holy, it's dirty. Sex and religion, when religion was sex. Sex among the puffers, it's an alchemical. The devil, you say. The vampire. Incubi and succubi, demonic sexual violation. Magical children. Orgasm and genetic ecology. The Black Mass. Magic menses. Sperm as a drug. The elixir of life. The Eucharist and the elixir of life. The talisman, making the dead live. The sex magician, of eating blood and idol worship. And let's see if that's it. Oh no, there's more, section 2. The Knights Templar and the sex magicians. Aleister Crowley, the wickedest man in the world. The bloody sacrifice. Energized enthusiasm. The secret of the Holy Grail. Sexual alchemy. Occult eugenics. The Royal Mass of the Secret Lover, and these are all done by contributed by other authors. The Royal Mass of the Secret Lover was David Carabim. The mystical, magical meaning of the Royal Mass, ceremony of the sun and moon, angelic sex magic, techniques of Enochian sex magic, and biblical erotica. That was quite you can imagine we had a great deal of fun doing it, and we had several people, including Diana Hartman and Gary Ford, and David Cherubim, who were anxious to contribute something toward the end. But the funnest, in my opinion, contributor to this project was Robert Anton Wilson. And I'm going to read his introduction if I can find it. It should be toward the beginning. Introduction by Robert Anton Wilson. Begins with an epigraph from Adam Weishaupt. You cannot kill time without injuring eternity. When Playboy Press was about to publish my second book, Sex and Drugs, I asked Alan Watts to send them a jacket blurb. He wrote a letter to Playboy saying, quote, "This obscene, lewd, blasphemous, subversive, and very interesting book should be banned, boulderized, censored, suppressed, and burned by the public hangman." Unquote. On a Xerox to me, he added, "This ought to help you sell 1 million copies." Unquote. As the editors of the Bunny Empire, the Playboy, Bunny Empire did not agree with Alan's whimsical approach to controversy in advertising, all they quoted on the dust jacket was, "Very interesting, Alan Watts." Well, maybe Falcon has more wit and more intelligence than the Rabbit Warren. I assure you that what you are about to read is obscene, lewd, blasphemous, subversive, and very interesting, and that all right-thinking people will agree that it should be banned, boulderized, censored, suppressed, and burned by the public hangman. Unquote. Of course, you will think I'm joking. Well, there is a clergyman at large in this great nation. Okay, remember this is in 1991, okay? There is a clergyman at large in this great nation who claims that Mr. Ed, the talking horse on the TV comedy, is the great beast foretold in the last book of the Bible. Is this reverend gentleman joking? Are you quite sure about that? Don't be too sure about me either. Sometimes the mysteries have to be approached on all fours, as it were. For instance, I recently read a most interesting novel called This'll Kill Ya by Harry Wilson, no relative. The cover warned me, and every chapter of the book repeated the warning, caution, reading this book may be hazardous to your health. The plot concerned a book which allegedly kills people. The policeman investigating this book is naturally a bit cautious once he gets his hands on a copy of the loathsome and fearful volume. The reader also tends to become cautious after a while, since it soon becomes obvious that the book you are reading is the book you are reading about. The book that can kill people, which is called This'll Kill Ya. Fortunately, the book will only kill you if you share the most common superstition in our culture, the idea that words on paper can be dangerous. In other words, the more deeply you fear certain ideas, images, and taboo topics generally, the more likely it is that the book, This'll Kill You, might actually kill you. Here we're confronted with a terrible paradox, like unto the divinely revealed hell laws of the Discordian religion, which he helped. He's a founding father. Which hold that one, hell only exists for those who believe hell exists. And two, the worst part of hell is reserved for those who believe in hell because they think they'll go there if they don't believe in it. Who then, by extension of the hell laws, can stands in the most dire danger from this'll kill you? Those who believe that words on paper or words on radio or TV or computer nets can be dangerous, and that therefore certain words should be banned, boulderized, censored, suppressed, and may even be burned by the public hangman. But people who believe in this diabolical power of words and or ideas and or images are precisely the people who form censorship societies and study new books or other forms of art, science, or entertainment and decide which are dangerous. In short, this'll kill you is most to prove fatal precisely to those who think it might be fatal. Are you listening, Florida? You see, after decades of mulling this mystery, why are some people so terrified of certain words and ideas? I think I finally found the answer in the 18th century Neapolitan sociologist Giambattista. I'm going to have to say that again. Giambattista Vico. Thank God he had a short last name. Giambattista Vico, best known today as the inventor of what we now call transpersonal linguistics. Vico had lots of other ideas, however, but wrote them in a rather opaque language in Naples. At the time, the Holy Inquisition still occasionally toasted people who had original notions. Vico seems to imply that his indirect Neapolitan way that the first god was the thunder, and mortality derives from traumatic experiences with thunder. In other words, negative imprints. Vico was the first to study the cave peoples and to suggest Bigfoot was a survivor of that age, and from cave art, he deduced that anything that happened just before thunder was construed by them as arousing the anger of the thunder god. And we have to remember that the root character of this Semitic god Jehovah was a thunder god. Thus imagine some caveman about to clunk his brother on the head with an axe when the thunder crashed. For the next 30,000 years, we have kept the taboo, never kill members of your own tribe. War goes on because in those early days, the thunder never struck when somebody was getting ready to hit a foreigner or a non-tribe member with an axe. Similarly, some delightful sexual dalliances got put under the big taboo because just, quote, well, we can't do it that way after all. Another taboo lasted 30,000 years or longer. In some cases, nobody could figure out what had provoked the anger of the sky god, why the thunder roared at a certain moment. Early shamans must have given this a lot of thought. They finally decided that since nothing had happened, the god must have gotten royally pissed off at something somebody said. And so, bit by bit, bite by bite, more and more ideas and images were denied verbal expression because the thunder god might get into a frightful snit if he heard them being uttered. Thus, we still have long lists of unspeakable words and unpublishable ideas because old brain, where primitive imprints are stored, still fears that primordial thunder god, who appears, incidentally, on the soundtrack of almost every horror movie when the director wants to activate our deepest collective anxieties. Even people who think they've outgrown this thunder god and the taboos of the old Stone Age will find certain atavistic fears creeping up on them in some modern works of art which deliberately violate taboos and conventional ways of thinking. Senator Jesse Helms, Southern racist, quasi-fascist senator supported by the Ku Klux Klan, who is financed by people who make a living literally poisoning us. Can always make headlines by finding a new work of art which activates the dread of the thunder god. The same is true of the present book. So I warn you again that if you think certain ideas and images can be dangerous to us, you can literally bring down curses from heaven, the roars of the giant thing in the sky. Thus, the book can be extremely hazardous to your health if you are in the censorship business. Perhaps the safest course is not to read the book at all and just issue a general condemnation of it based on your ideas of what might be found in there. If you dare to read more than 5 or 10 of the eldritch and unhallowed pages that follow. Of course, condemning books you haven't read always sounds goofy to the uninitiated and the ungodly, but then condemning what you know nothing about represents a long and honorable tradition among censors, who have never worried about the fact that they can very often sound goofy, batty, buggy, or just plain wacko to the rest of us. After all, censorship consists chiefly of reading books that are suspected of causing degeneracy and depravity among their readers. The censor is therefore by definition a person who constantly risking self-destruction and moral decay. What Dorian Gray-like loathsomeness must result after 3 or 4 years of hard work as a censor staggers the imagination. The mind conjures images from the tales from the crypt. But some persist in this risky profession for 5 years or 10 or sometimes for 20. The total corruption that must result invokes thoughts of the lower and most excremental pits of Dante's Inferno. I love Robert Anton Wilson. Okay. A true hero of Western civilization. Okay. One can admire the courage of those who undertake such perilous quests, but one also wonders a bit about their foolhardiness or downright masochism. Consider Charles Keating, who first came to public notice as the leader of the National Organization for Decent Literature, spent years scrutinizing the centerfolds of Playboy, which he suspected of being hazardous. After intensely studying 12 of these licentious American beauties every year, Keating was indeed corrupted. He currently stands convicted of mass junk bond swindles and embezzlements and is accused of bribing 5 U.S. senators who were probably corrupted by the same Playboy pictorials, unless they had already proceeded to the hard stuff, Penthouse or Hustler. Many censors have not yet discovered the differences among these magazines. Allow me to enlighten them. Remember, Bob Wilson was an editor at Playboy. The naked ladies in Playboy look as if they want you to make love to them. The naked ladies in Penthouse look as if they cannot wait any longer and have started making love to themselves. The ones in Hustler merely look like they're having a gynecological examination. Which of the three is more dangerous depends on which school of theology or mythology you embrace. I think it's safe to predict that almost every organized group of idiots in the country will regard this book as extremely dangerous. If only we had some Mapplethorpe illustrations, we would get a unanimous chorus of outrage from all the idiots in the country. Personally, I have read the whole book and feel totally unharmed. I learned 2 or 3 secret occult secrets I didn't know before, so in that sense, I was actually enriched by the book. New information enriches the brain in both metaphoric and in a very literal sense. See my Prometheus Rising, which is published by New Falcon too, on the relationship between information and wealth. However, those who sincerely believe in the ideas that a book can kill you should be wary here. This son of a bitch will explode in their hands. Robert Anton Wilson. His introduction to Taboo, Sex, Religion, and Magic by the late, great Dr. Christopher Hyatt and yours truly. Available probably in multiple editions in multiple titles, but it's out there. Well, I hope that was entertaining enough for Saturday morning cartoons. Tomorrow, hopefully, we'll get together for Sunday school. And until then, continue to be good to yourself, be good to each other. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Love is the law, love under will.